Ever wondered who's really behind the companies we trust with our most valuable assets? I'm talking about the giants that hold our financial security in their hands, like insurance companies. Today, we're diving deep into one such company, Brightway Insurance. The question on everyone's mind is, who actually owns Brightway? We live in a world where brand names are everywhere, but the actual ownership structures can be incredibly complex. It's like an iceberg. What we see on the surface is just a small fraction of the whole picture. Beneath the surface lies a network of holding companies, private equity firms, and sometimes even individual investors. This opacity can make it difficult to trace the true ownership of a company, especially in industries like insurance, which are heavily regulated and often involve intricate financial arrangements. Think about it. You might have a policy with Brightway, you see their logo, maybe you've even interacted with their agents. But do you know who profits from the premiums you pay? Who makes the strategic decisions that impact the company's future? Understanding the ownership structure isn't just about satisfying curiosity, it's about understanding the motivations and potential influences that shape the company's actions. Before we delve into Brightway specifically, let's briefly touch on the different types of ownership structures you often see in insurance. Some insurance companies are publicly traded, meaning their shares are available on the stock market. Anyone can buy a piece of the company, and ownership is distributed among countless shareholders. This creates a certain level of transparency, as these companies are required to disclose their financial information publicly. Then there are privately held companies, which are not traded on the stock market. Ownership is typically concentrated in the hands of a few individuals, families, or private equity firms. These companies have less stringent disclosure requirements, making it harder to determine the exact ownership breakdown. Another type of ownership is mutual insurance companies. These companies are owned by their policyholders. In essence, the customers are the owners, sharing in the company's profits through dividends or reduced premiums. This structure aligns the interests of the company with the interests of its customers. So, where does Brightway fit into all of this? Brightway Insurance is a privately held company. This means it's not listed on any stock exchange, and its shares are not publicly traded. This immediately tells us that the ownership is concentrated and not spread across a large number of public shareholders. Brightway Insurance was founded in 2008 by brothers David and Michael Miller. This is a crucial piece of the puzzle. Being a privately held company founded by individuals strongly suggests that the Miller brothers, or their family, retain significant ownership and control of the company. While Brightway has grown significantly since its inception, expanding through a franchise model, the core ownership remains private. This is a common structure for franchise-based businesses. The franchisor, in this case, Brightway, owns the brand and the operating system, while individual franchisees own and operate their own local branches. However, the overall direction and ultimate ownership of the Brightway brand and system still rests with the founders and their private entity. It's important to differentiate between franchise ownership and overall company ownership. Individual Brightway franchise owners are independent business owners who have licensed the Brightway brand and operating model. They are not owners of the overarching Brightway Insurance Company itself. They are essentially partners operating under the Brightway umbrella. The private nature of Brightway's ownership structure means detailed information about the exact percentage ownership held by the Miller brothers or any other investors is not publicly available. This is the nature of privately held companies. They are not obligated to disclose this level of detail to the public. However, understanding the context of its founding and its continued operation as a privately held entity gives us a clear picture. The Miller brothers and potentially other private investors, likely including family members, are the primary owners of Brightway Insurance. This private ownership has several implications. It allows for quicker decision-making without the need to answer to public shareholders. It also means the company's profits primarily benefit the owners rather than being distributed among a wider pool of public investors. It's also worth noting that private equity firms sometimes invest in privately held companies. While there's no publicly available information confirming private equity involvement in Brightway, it's a possibility. If a private equity firm were to invest, they would acquire a stake in the company, becoming part owners alongside the existing owners. However, without official announcements or filings, this remains speculative. So, to summarize, Brightway Insurance is a privately held company founded by David and Michael Miller. This indicates that the Miller brothers and potentially other private investors, likely family, retain primary ownership and control. The company's franchise model involves independent business owners operating under the Brightway brand, but these franchisees do not own the overarching Brightway Insurance Company itself. The private nature of Brightway's ownership means detailed ownership percentages are not publicly disclosed. This is typical for privately held companies. While the possibility of private equity involvement exists, there is no publicly available confirmation. Understanding who owns a company like Brightway provides valuable insight into its decision-making processes, its long-term goals, and its overall direction. In this case, the continued private ownership by the founders suggests a focus on long-term growth and control, rather than the short-term pressures often associated with publicly traded companies. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.